I do think, however, we are seeing the Iranians set the table for a new negotiation, where we recall Joe Biden, when he was elected president, said he wanted to negotiate a longer, stronger deal to replace the JCPOA, knowing that it was very flawed, limited, and had expiration dates coming up. We've gone from that to wanting to just get back to the JCPOA over the summer. We're now in a place where I think the Iranians are saying the JCPOA is the starting point for negotiations, and we are going to negotiate sanctions relief for fewer concessions from there. So really a turn of fortunes for the Iranians 10 months ago, up against the wall. To use a football metaphor from the United States, the Iranians were on their own 1 yard line 10 months ago, and now they're driving into the American red zone.
So rate the progress of talks for us so far. How would you give this in a score out of 10, for example? Because we've heard anecdotally, and you're also just flagging, that it seems like the Iranians are basically winning at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard to score this. I mean, you can't really take the diplomats' public comments at face value, especially from the European Union. I've always felt that if the Iranians walk into a room and smile, the European Union will give a press conference that it was an amazing diplomatic victory for the day. So the truth is, what is really on the table, and what is Iran doing on the ground? On the ground right now, they are expanding their enrichment at 60% purity level, just a stone's throw away from 90% weapons grade. We have, obviously, the comments from the International Atomic Energy Agency last week that Iran is denying access to certain sites, limiting the IAEA inspections and verifications. So it's going in the wrong direction on the ground. Really no accountability from the Europeans, no accountability from Washington at the IAEA board meeting last week. There's no discussion of snapback of UN sanctions at the Security Council. So the question is, what will be the plan B for the Biden administration and its European allies if all we see from the Iranians is, how much will you pay us for as few concessions as possible?
So is there a plan B? I know you've written before about this compliance for compliance approach that President Joe Biden appears to be favoring. Is that still the right way forward?
I think at this point, because the JCPOA started expiring last October with the expiration of the international arms embargo, we have additional restrictions scheduled to lift in 2 years, and then 2 years after that, and so on. This is really an old deal that doesn't have a lot of value at this point, especially given Iran's nuclear advances this year amidst the lack of sanctions enforcement by the Biden administration. I think what we have to do is push the reset button. That starts with a snapback at the Security Council of all the UN restrictions on Iran, so that all these sunset provisions, these restrictions that are scheduled to expire, no longer expire. Take that away from the Iranians. That's really what they want. At that point, if you were to bridge the gap between Europe and the United States, something that we haven't had for the last couple of years, bring back a transatlantic position on sanctions enforcement against Iran, alongside a new Security Council resolution that reimposes all these restrictions, I think you'll get the Iranians' attention very quickly. And of course, there has to be a bottom line from the West. Will we be willing to use military action to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons? And will we make sure Tehran knows we intend to use such an option?